When a woman is minding her own business, the last thing she expects is to be slammed to the ground by police. They think she's just another innocent person, but they have no idea who she really is. What happens next will shock you. Keep watching to find out why this brutal encounter didn't end the way they expected. This is the story of a woman named Lena, who found herself in the wrong place at the wrong time. But there's more to her than meets the eye. What the police didn't know: her connection to one of the most well-known figures in the world of combat sports, Arman Tsarukyan. Police brutality is something we hear about all too often. It happens in places we least expect, with innocent people getting caught in the crossfire. Lena was just one of those innocent people. But what made her story different wasn't just the brutality she faced. It was the hidden connection to a fighter who could have turned the tables. Unfortunately, the officers had no idea who they were dealing with. Lena's life wasn't ordinary by any means. She wasn't just another random woman walking down the street. In fact, she had been living a quiet life, away from the limelight, but with a history that could have easily linked her to some serious combat training. But how did she get caught up in this mess? It all started on a regular Tuesday afternoon. Lena was heading home from work, listening to music and enjoying the calmness of her day. As she crossed the street, a patrol car quickly pulled up beside her, and before she knew it, the officers were confronting her. At first, it seemed like a routine stop, perhaps a misunderstanding. But within minutes, the situation turned sour. The officers began accusing her of something she didn't do. They were aggressive, pointing fingers, demanding answers. Lena was confused. She had done nothing wrong. But what the police didn't know was that Lena had a history that was far from average. She was connected to Arman Tsarukyan, a rising star in the world of mixed martial arts, someone whose name was starting to make waves. Lena had known Tsarukyan for years. While their connection wasn't public knowledge, the two shared a past. They trained together. Arman knew Lena as someone who had potential, someone with discipline, strength, and knowledge of self-defense. She wasn't just any woman. Unfortunately, that was a secret the police didn't know. They saw a woman on the street, and they assumed they could treat her however they wanted. They didn't know she had the strength and skill to defend herself if needed, and they didn't care to find out. The moment that changed everything came quickly, almost too quickly. As the officers began to get more hostile, Lena tried to explain that she wasn't the person they were looking for. She remained calm, trying to de-escalate the situation, but the officers weren't interested in listening. In a split second, they forced her to the ground, using unnecessary force. In that moment, Lena didn't panic. She knew what to do. She had been trained to handle herself thanks to her connection to Arman Tsarukyan. But even with her training, she knew this situation could get worse if she didn't find a way to get out of it. The officers were too focused on their own authority, too caught up in their anger to care about the truth. And then, it happened. In the chaos of the confrontation, one of the officers, in his blind aggression, knocked Lena's head to the pavement. She felt the sharp impact. Everything around her went blurry. It wasn't just physical pain. She felt the emotional weight of what was happening. She was being punished for something she didn't do, all because of a misunderstanding. But Lena wasn't going down without a fight. As she tried to recover and get back on her feet, she caught a glimpse of a familiar face, a fellow MMA fighter who was passing by. He had heard the commotion and had stopped to help. This wasn't just any fighter. It was one of Arman Tsarukyan's close training partners. Seeing this fighter, Lena's emotions shifted from fear to determination. The arrival of this ally made all the difference. With his support, Lena was able to call for backup. The situation was no longer one-sided. In the aftermath, the truth about Lena's connection to Arman Tsarukyan came to light. The police didn't know who they were dealing with, and when they found out, it was already too late. The footage of the incident quickly went viral, sparking public outrage. People were furious about the unnecessary brutality Lena had faced, especially after it was revealed that she wasn't just an ordinary woman. She was connected to one of the most formidable fighters in the world. The consequences for the officers were swift. An internal investigation was launched, and they faced serious repercussions for their actions. But the damage was done. The emotional and physical toll on Lena couldn't be undone, and the way she was treated that day left a permanent scar. While the police were held accountable, the question remained: how many others had experienced the same unjust treatment? Lena's story didn't just shed light on the mistreatment she endured, it sparked a conversation about police brutality and the need for reform. It also reminded us of how important it is to know who you're dealing with before making assumptions. The officers didn't know Lena's history, and that ignorance led to one of the most unnecessary acts of brutality. If you want to hear more stories like Lena's and learn about the consequences of police overreach, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for our next video.